What's up, everybody? In this video we are going to do a hardware comparison between the iPad 3rd generation and the iPad Air 2. So if you owned the iPad Air 3 or the iPad Air 4, they're fairly similar, and at this point they're getting rather dated. The iPad Air, or the iPad 3, is the 2012 version of the iPad, which a lot of people have this one, or the iPad 2, 4. They all look the same. The 2 through the 4 have the same design, and a lot of people purchased this one back when it came out in March of 2012. They still own it and use it, and they may be wondering, is it time for me to upgrade to the new iPad Air? So it's really easy to tell the difference between the two of these. The iPad 3 is the black one here you see on the left, and the white iPad over here, the white glass iPad, or in my case gold iPad, is the iPad Air. So let's just go ahead and do a little hardware comparison. That's all we're doing, no software, just hardware. So let's start out by looking at size. First of all, you're going to notice that the iPad Air can sit on the glass of the iPad 3. So iPad Air, a lot smaller. If we can get it all into the one shot here, the iPad Air is so much smaller than the iPad 3. So that's one thing you're going to notice. The name itself kind of gives that away. It's also a lot lighter than the iPad 3. So if you're coming from the iPad 3 and you've never owned the iPad mini, this is definitely going to feel so much lighter. I can't even stress to you how much lighter this particular iPad is in comparison to the iPad 3. This one, 1.5 pounds. The iPad 3 is 1.5 pounds, whereas this one is 0.96 pounds. So it's a lot lighter than this one here. The next thing, if we flip them to the back, you will notice that the iPad 3 has a silver back on it, and the iPad Air is gold in my case. But the thing about the iPad Air is the back of it can either be this color. If you get the silver model, it still comes with silver. But you can also get a space gray color that looks something like this. It's kind of a cross between all of them, and the iPad Air does come in a space gray color, much like the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 5S. The other thing you're going to notice is microphone placement. On the iPad 3, the only microphone is right here on the top. And they moved them on the iPad Air over here. The microphones are now right here on this side of the camera and right there on the side instead of the mute switch, which is the next thing that we definitely need to cover in this video. Is the mute switch is gone. So this little toggle up here that mutes the iPad is no longer there. And if you relied on that a lot, it's gone. And I don't really know why. I think it was quite convenient. I personally love having that switch right there. But for whatever reason, Apple didn't think that was necessary, and they took it out. So the iPad Air does not have it. The 2nd generation iPad Air doesn't have it. If we look at the home button, that's the next deal that's different. This home button is the classic home button that we've had on iPhones ever since the 1st generation iPhone, and it's not Touch ID. Unfortunately, I don't have this iPad set up. I have never bothered to configure it since I updated it, since I got my iPad Air 2, that is. I haven't actually used this one. So, it really, you have to type in a password or you just don't make a password. Where on this one, you can see we have a different style home button. There's no little rectangle. It's got a ring around it, and if we hold down, it unlocks the iPad. So Touch ID is present on this one. It functions as the home button and the way to unlock the iPad. Here, it simply functions as the home button, allows you to wake it up, and then, turn it, hit the home button to exit applications. So software-wise, the bezels are smaller. So if you're holding the bezels, that is a lot smaller here, and your hand is going to hit the screen more. But ever since the iPad mini was introduced back in October of 2012, when they introduced the iPad mini, software recognizes the accidental presence of your thumb, and you can continue to use the device without worrying about your thumb touching that display right there. So that is definitely good for iPad Air users that have never used the mini. If you're wondering about that, you don't have to worry about the bezels, and if you go landscape, you got plenty of room for your thumbs to rest on the iPad. So that is a quick hardware comparison between the iPad 3 and the iPad Air 2. Thanks for watching.